Hello, today I want to talk about some new launches. I feel like there are so many things coming out, and unsurprisingly, we are already getting holiday launches. Can't decide how I feel about that, but I want to talk about everything, so let's jump in to some new makeup releases. It's funny, I asked in the last version of this video, like a survey, when do we think we will start seeing holiday releases for 2023, at least like the previews, and I feel like most of the answers were like late August, early September, and that was correct. Should we start with the holiday launches? There aren't like a ton. You know what? Let's hold off. I'm not ready to talk about them yet. Maybe later in the video, but like I'm not even ready for fall yet, let alone the holidays. But let's instead talk about this palette from Kosas. Okay, when I first saw this, upon first glance, this did not register to me that this was an eyeshadow palette. I was pretty convinced for a moment there that this was a cheek palette of like contours and highlights and just like different skin tone shades. And it quite literally took me reading the description to realize, oh, this is an eyeshadow palette. And I don't know why, because it makes zero sense, because later in the video, there is a palette with an almost identical color story that you're about to hear me drooling over. So why I am not interested in this one feels illogical, but something about this palette from Kosas, it's not doing it for me. I think it's partially in the packaging, something about it. Again, if you would have just shown me this and I did not see the Kosas name on the top, and you would have said, Kelly, how much does this palette cost and what brand is it from? I would say Florence by Mills, $18.99, you know? I just don't think it's giving Kosas. And maybe in person I would feel differently about the packaging and the execution of the palette. Like maybe it just presents a little bit differently in person, but the photos I can't say are doing it any justice. I feel like that's saying a lot because I'm very much the target audience for a palette like this. I love neutrals, I love matte shades. So the fact that I'm not excited about this, I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. Perhaps this is one, if I were to see it in a Sephora, maybe I would feel differently in person. But what's partially holding me back is that I feel like it's lacking the range here. It seems to sit very mid-toned with that one singular light shade and like one singular deep shade. And I just, A, don't think that will work for a lot of skin tones, but B, I feel like pretty much every look is going to be the same. Yes, those transition shades have slightly different undertones to them, but I can't say I understand this palette. I can't say I do. Which will have you asking yourself, well, Kelly, why do you like this palette? I don't know, you guys. I like what I like. This is the Patrick Ta Major Dimension 2. What I don't like about this is that it is $70. But what I do like about this is everything else. I don't know what it is. This is something I have over and over and over again in my collection. So like the logical side of my brain tells me, girl, you don't need that. But every single time I see a matte neutral palette, I have to do a double take. I'm like, oh, should I get that palette? And I probably will not pick this up. I really am just not in my eyeshadow palette phase right now. I'm so heavily leaning into single shadows, or even just like a bronzer in my crease for most days. But the execution on this feels like a better version of like what Kosas was trying to do. I think there's a really beautiful gradient here that would lend itself to a lot of different skin tones, a lot of different looks. I think there's something really nice about having that gradient between the shadows that allows you to build things up in like kind of at your own pace without fear of it looking patchy or overdoing it. I also think it's kind of fun that there's a mixture of cream shadows in here. You know what though? It's one of those things that's fun in theory, but I also know myself and I probably won't really use the cream shadows. So you kind of almost have to think about like, what do you gravitate to? I don't know, $70, it's steep, but I have to say I have pretty much only heard positive things about the Patrick Ta eyeshadow formula. So we'll see. I will say though, if I was like, you know what, I want to drop $70 on an eyeshadow palette, I would probably instead choose this one from Natasha Denona. This is the new I Need a Nude palette. So not only is this $1 less, but you also have 15 shades in this versus the 12 in the Patrick Ta. I love the Natasha Denona eyeshadow formula, though I will say I am a Natasha Denona minis girly. I have one midi palette from the brand, and I actually don't reach for it that often. I reach for my minis so much more. I have the midi sized glam palette, And something about this, it feels so similar to it. Though I have watched a lot of reviews and I've heard creators say, you know what, they actually are quite different. I'm tempted by this simply for the fact that it is Natasha Denona, and I've seen some beautiful looks with it from a lot of creators. Though typically what really draws me in from Natasha Denona palettes are the like promo makeup looks that they do. But these two that I saw from it did not draw me in, though I think they're beautiful looks, well executed, they look nice, like they show off the palette and the shades beautifully, but they don't tempt me because they're not looks that I really wear. They're super glam, very bold, also a little bit deep. What I do really like about this also though is from what I've seen in swatches and tutorials and reviews, it appears to have a lot of range because it's like partially warm tone, partially cool tone, partially neutral. Like I think that you could achieve a lot of different looks depending on the pairings of shades. I think there's a lot of versatility here. Whereas if you compare this to the other $70 brand new eyeshadow palette from Patrick Ta, that type of palette is something that's going to lead to a lot of very similar looks. I don't think you're gonna have the biggest like possibility of outcomes there. I mean, though you can, but this palette, I feel like there's just a lot more directions you could go if that's your preference. Are you interested in any of these? Let me know your thoughts. Okay, something that is new and I'm actually wearing today, I tested out for the first time, so I'll give some very first impressions, but obviously the full review is something I'll save for later once I have tested it more. But Fenty came out with eyeshadow Stix. So I'm wearing one of them today, but I'm wearing it, okay, you might be looking at my eye and thinking, oh, cute, sparkly, but this isn't all from Fenty. This is what's going on in my eyes today. First, I've got the Merit Cream Shadow. I have the shade Studio on. On top of that, I have the Fenty eyeshadow stick, and then I didn't think that was sparkly enough for me because at least the shade that I used pulled very satin, so I wanted more glitter, so I took Urban Decay, Moon Dust, and Space Cowboy and tapped it over top. So that's where I got this from. It's like a combination of all of them. My first thoughts on the shadow sticks from Fenty, they come in two formulas. You've got shimmer and then matte. The shimmer ones, it's pretty, but I can't say it's something that I couldn't achieve with some of my drugstore shadow sticks. You know what I mean? And I don't think that's any fault to Fenty. I just think there's so many great affordable formulations in something like an eyeshadow stick that I can't say this formula stands out above the ones that I have that are about a third of the price. The one I'm thinking of that I think is very similar, but like $6 is the one from Hard Candy. I can actually even link that one below, but I did enjoy the first application of this Fenty one. Obviously, this is my first time ever wearing it, and I've only had it on my eyes for 2-3 hours at this point, so take all this with a grain of salt. I need to come back to you once it's been tested much more thoroughly, but I'm liking it. I think it makes sense that we have seen such an influx in shadow sticks. Just the way we've watched the trends shift into more simplified eyeshadow looks, I feel like a lot of makeup wearers are really craving just like not only that one and done step, but simplifying it even more to a shadow stick. Because, okay, a one and done shadow in a pot, yes, that's easy, but I feel like taking it even easier is the shadow stick option. So I feel like these will do well. Also, Fenty launched a foundation stick. I'm so intrigued by this because it's kind of like the sister product to the Eaze Drop, which is one of my #1 favorite foundation formulas. I think it sits beautifully on the skin for a more light coverage but natural matte finish, which is my perfect, like that is the perfect description for a foundation in my opinion. And so that alone, just knowing this is like the sister product to it, draws me in, or at least like perks my ears up to it. But I have never really gotten down with a stick foundation. I don't know what it is. It's probably that I have a dry skin type. I find in general they tend to be a bit more conducive on someone with more oily skin because it's like they almost want to blend out a little bit better with the more oil on the skin. Sometimes with dry skin, especially if you have dry skin that leans towards like flaking, foundation sticks are hard because they require you to do a lot of like circular motions on the skin. And if you have dry patches, that doesn't always want to lay well. You know, it kind of depends on the formula. That's what always holds me back about stick foundations. I feel like they don't want to work well on my skin type, but they also tend to be just a bit more heavy in nature because they are that like thicker cream finish. So in theory, I feel like I should hate this type of product, but I've actually heard pretty positive reviews on it. So I'm interested in it. If you would like to see a review on it, please let me know. If there's anything in this video in particular that you're like, girl, we need you to review that, please leave me a comment. That one I'm interested in, but it's one of those things that I would be buying it because of, like, what am I saying? To review. I would be buying it to share a review. Not necessarily because I'm like, oh yeah, I need that. That's so up my alley. No, I would just like to review it if you want to hear my thoughts. Okay, should we stick with Fenty? They are coming out with new additions in the fragrance line. And I have the Fenty perfume. I actually do not like this. It is one of my least favorite perfumes in my collection. I don't know though. Some days I wear it and I like it. It just depends. But I find that the patchouli note in this is so overpowering. That's really all I get on the skin. Though it does also have more floral notes like rose and whatnot. But they are coming out with the body cream in this same family. And if I was a fan of this scent, I might be intrigued by that because I do think it's nice to layer like a matching scent under the perfume with like the lotion, everything on top, you know. It just helps with like projection of the scent and longevity, all of that. Though I will say, this perfume has no problems with longevity. This, you do one spritz, you're gonna smell it for like 3 days. I don't know what it is. This is the most powerful perfume. I'm exaggerating, not 3 days, but you know what I mean. Anyways, the body cream. Guess how much it is? Guess. A lotion, okay? A lotion. $86. I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked. The packaging looks luxe. I'm sure that it is. It would have to be for that price point, but that just feels obnoxiously steep in my opinion. Even when I buy my Sol de Janeiro Boom Boom cream, which I've repurchased a few times now, even that at, what is it, like $40? I'm like, oh my gosh, this is way too expensive for a body lotion. Spending almost $90 for a body lotion is unfathomable to me. I don't know. Okay, so beyond that, they are also launching the travel perfume set that retails for $95 and has 3 travel size 10 milliliter bottles. The containers are like twists, so you could refill with the full size. Again, that feels kind of steep, $95. What I would actually rather see is an additional fragrance from Fenty. I think it would be cool to see Rihanna do a line of perfumes the same way we've seen from like Ariana Grande. She even just launched like the new pink version of Cloud, and she has all of her fragrances. I want to smell something else from Rihanna. So I personally do not enjoy this scent. I feel like this is really polarizing. I have heard some people love it or some people hate it. Like, you really have to smell it and form your own opinion. It's definitely bold fragrance, but I want some more scents from Fenty. But while we're talking about perfume, Beyonce is coming out with a perfume. This has me so excited. I'm a Beyonce stan. I love her. And she's going to be coming out with Act 1 Renaissance. This will retail for $160. And I'm intrigued by the notes. Okay, top notes are clementine, golden honey. Heart notes, rose, absolute, jasmine. Base notes, myrrh, and golden amber. Coming in November. The only thing is, it's only coming to Beyonce.com as of right now, and I have to smell a perfume before I buy it. I mean, I have made the mistake of not doing it many times, and now I'm to the point where I have learned my lesson the hard way, and I don't buy perfumes without smelling them. So I think that is the biggest downside about having a perfume on your own personal website. I will hope that maybe by the time this launches, she might be with some retail partners. Like, if I could at least just go into Sephora or into Macy's or into somewhere and smell the fragrance and decide if I like it, that's one thing. But $160 perfume that you may or may not like, that's tough. Also, though, I will say I did mention in my 2022 predictions, not the predictions for this year, but the predictions I made the previous year, I said we would see a beauty brand from Beyonce. I thought it'd be makeup, but my prediction kind of came true with perfume. One more fragrance, the Sol de Janeiro After Hours perfume, well, body spray, if you will, is limited edition. I am intrigued. Notes are blackcurrant, midnight, jasmine, and amber woods. I just recently picked up their number 40 scent. I have been obsessed with this. So this is another one. I'm like, maybe I'll go into Sephora and smell it. We'll see. I don't know that this necessarily seems like something that would be up my alley, but I at least want to see. Have you tried this? Let me know your thoughts if you have. Okay, new shades from Milani in their Fruit Fetish lip oils. This is my #1 favorite, like drugstore lip oil formula. Actually, might be my #1 favorite lip oil formula in general. I use it over my high-end ones all the time. And they are coming out with the shades that are a little bit less pinky, a little bit more neutral, which I know a lot of people will be excited about. Some of these look a little bit more orangey, so I want to pick one of these up because I love this formula, but I'm good when it comes to lip oil, so I'm probably going to hold off, but I do think that's an exciting launch. A new Anastasia Beverly Hills palette is coming out, Fall Romance. And while I will say these shades do not speak to me, I want to give Anastasia Beverly Hills a little bit of credit because this is the first palette from them in a while that I think is more of a unique color story. I think they've done something a little bit different here. That's not to say we haven't seen somewhat in this color family from indie brands for a while now, but I would say from mainstream brands, having something with these like green golds and the purple combo I think is a little bit unique compared to a lot of other launches on the market right now. That being said, you know me, and you know that most days I just put bronzer in my crease and call it a day, so I think you know my answer on this palette, but I think the color story is very pretty. Okay, let's talk some holiday launches, but first let's talk Halloween. Colourpop, okay wait, before I tell you this one, do we think we're gonna see another Hocus Pocus collection this year? This would be year 4, right, for Hocus Pocus? Is this gonna be the first year we don't get it? I don't know, because currently they are promoting the Haunted Mansion palette, which I'm very excited about. So I was on the Disney College program, so I worked in Disney World for a little while there. And the Haunted Mansion is, of course, one of the most iconic rides at Disney. And I love the Haunted Mansion so much. I've only been on the one in Disney World because I've actually never been to Disneyland. I think this is cute. Funny enough, I was looking through the comments on Trendmood. I was like, I wonder what people think about this. Here's the thing, people on Trendmood don't like anything. They don't like anything that comes out. So I'm never expecting the comments to be that positive, but on this, I feel like a lot of people were disappointed by the color story. But I think that's the tough part for a lot of these brands when they're collaborating with different IP. They want to keep some level of safety there. You know what I mean? Like, they want their return on investment for partnering with Disney in this palette, so it makes sense that they're going to make something that's going to be as widely appealing as possible and not necessarily like the brightest, most colorful, bold palette. And I think while doing something a little bit different, but still fitting in the theme, but still kind of having mass appeal, I think they nailed it with this color story. You've got a pop of blue, you got the purple. I like that there's some taupe shades in here. I think the packaging is cute. I like that they went with some pops in the Super Shock shadows. Here's the thing, when it comes to these like IP collabs, it's not really about launching the most unique color story. It's not about launching the most innovative product with the new formula. No. They're collaborating because they want someone that loves this ride to buy the palette. And did they succeed with that? I'm gonna say yes. That being said, personally, I'm not going to get this. It doesn't make me want to buy the palette. What it makes me want to do is go to Disney World in October and ride this ride and go to like Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. Okay, let's talk about some holiday launches. The yearly holiday launch from Too Faced looks exactly like you would expect it to look because, it doesn't, they don't change it much between the years. There's like, it's like the same, but it's different, Historically, this formulation is underwhelming and not the same as their other palettes, so I think that is noteworthy. But I know a lot of people get excited about these every year. I think this is the type of palette that really appeals to someone that's maybe not super duper into makeup, but just wants to buy like their holiday palette in a big set and have something to use throughout the year. So I understand the audience of it, but I cannot say this is the best quality you will find. I also can't say it's the most like beautiful or unique or exciting holiday launch. It's just like, it's what you would expect from Too Faced. You're like, okay, yep, it's that time again. We're also starting to see a little bit about advent calendars. I did a video about them last year, like the best and worst value ones. So I plan to do one this year once we see a little bit more of what will be coming out, but we will be getting another one from Makeup Revolution. This palette retails for $60 and it is supposed to have a $145 value. I typically, when I do my advent calendar videos, I will like break down the math for you. So, stay tuned for that video. The thing about some of these advent calendars, it's like maybe the actual like dollar value might be high compared to the retail price of it, but you really have to break down like what is actually in it. And I know that kind of is like the whole purpose. You're not supposed to look. That's the fun of it, is not looking. I'm not a secret surprise type of person. I will look at everything that's in the calendar. I don't want to wake up every day and be like, oh, what's in here? I want to know in advance. That's just my personality. So before buying something like this, I will have thoroughly researched it, figured out everything that is in it, and done the math on whether it makes sense or not. And when you look at this one for Makeup Revolution, you really just have to ask yourself, like, okay, there are a bunch of different lip glosses in different shades. Would you like this shade? Would you like that shade? And you almost have to do the math for yourself, knowing like, yes, this is the actual value, but how many of these products will I use and what is the value for me? And a lot of times with advent calendars, it's not there. Milk Makeup just launched a new blurring pore powder. That didn't really make sense. Blurring pore powder. What were those words, Kelly? This is the Pore Eclipse Matte Translucent Talc-Free Setting Powder. It's supposed to be kind of blurring, you know? I am not normally a loose powder person as much as I am a pressed powder person. I like all powders. I'm a powder girly, but my preference definitely leans towards something that is pressed. So that alone holds me back on this. If they would have launched these as a pressed powder, I would be more intrigued. That being said, I'm interested in this, especially because I feel like Milk Makeup loves like a blurring product. I feel like they excel with that. So I feel like I would expect this to be a good formula. That could be wrong, but that's what I would expect from Milk, from this product. They retail for $32 a piece. They say it's supposed to blur, which is what I look for in a powder. It is a matte finish, which I do enjoy, but it's hard to do a good matte finish powder, you know? Some of them can look a bit heavy, so that's what you have to figure out. Like, is it a heavy matte or is it more of a natural satiny finish? Who knows? Now this comes in 4 shades and they're all supposed to be like translucent versions of those shades. So with that in mind, they are supposed to, in theory, still have a lot of range, even though like even the light shade should work for a range of different light skin tones. That being said, I still feel like they are missing something in between shades 2 and 3. Like, I feel like I'm skeptical if these translucent skin tone shades really would work for everyone, but I haven't tried it, so I can't say for sure. That being said, let me know if you're interested in the Milk one. Let me know what products in this video would you like to see me test out, if anything. What do you have your eye on? Have you tried any of these? Let me know your thoughts down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will go ahead and see you in my next one. Bye.